welcome to or back to my channel. My name is Gabrielle, and in today's video I will be teaching you how to do the single crochet. This video will be included in a playlist of tutorials for beginners, including how to do magic circle, how to change colors, how to do ribbing, all of the other stitches included in the 5 most basic crochet stitches, some crochet tips, some good beginner projects, and just comment down below what other videos you would like to see as a beginner. And yeah, let's get into the video. Alright, so welcome to the tutorial for how to single crochet. Here I have a basic chain, probably of 10 or 12 chains, and so I would like you to make a slip knot and make 10 or 12 chains before coming to this video. If you are struggling with that, you can find a whole crochet beginner playlist on my YouTube channel, which will go over how to slip knot, how to chain, and how to do the 5 most common beginner crochet stitches. Work your way through my beginner playlist until you get to this video. Okay, so we're first going to learn how to make a single crochet. So this tight chain up here is my first chain. Now, whenever you are starting a new row, the first chain is going to be the height of your row as you start to go along it. So we don't actually put a stitch into the first one, we use that as our height on the side of the row. So skipping that first one, we're going to go into the second one. Don't worry about this too much as a beginner, just go into the first stitch that seems natural to you. But if you are moving your yarn like this, whatever stitch that's in is your first stitch. So you're going to go into the next available loop to the left. So you're just going to stick your hook through there. And what I mean when go through it is there's going to be, just go under the top loop. So if you see your V is like this, you're just going to, not the back side like this, where you can see the V shapes here, here, all the way along. You're just going to go underneath that top. So here's the V shape right here. You're going to go under the top leg of the V. So next what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over. So remember in the last video when we're making chains, we hold our hook parallel to the yarn. Then we go, forward where we're already in forward of it, down and back. So then we're just going to pull through, and remember that as we get closer to whatever's on our hook, we actually turn our hook down. So we're just going to right now go through that first loop on our hook. So that was the chain where we went into the chain. So now after we come out of the chain, we have 2 loops on our hook. Then we are free to yarn over. So hold our hook parallel to our yarn, go forward, down, and back. That's our yarn over. And then we're going to pull through both loops. So remember to hold with your thumb and your third finger right underneath the loops on your hook. And we're just going to pull, and remember to face our hook down and keep our yarn and our hook in a straight line. And go right through the 2 loops. And that is a single crochet. So now we can make sure that our hook is nice and loose. I'm going to go into the next chain. So this big fat hole over here, that's where we just made our stitch. So the next available little V shape, which is right here for me, next to the big hole, we're going to go under the top leg. So just go right here, and you can always pull it around and see where the top loop would be. Don't worry too much about going into the right spot of any chain as a beginner. Just try making some single crochets, and the more stitches you make, the better you'll get at identifying where you need to be. So right now we're going to make our hook parallel to our yarn. Then we're going to go forward, we already forward, down and back, and pull this through our chain just like last time. So then we're going to hold our hook parallel to the yarn on our in our left hand. We're going to go forward, down, and back, and then pull through both loops on our hook. So let's do this one more time and then repeat it all the way down your chain. And then I'll meet you about how to start a next row. So we're gonna go into the top V of our next stitch. So remember, the big hole that you just made a stitch into is the big hole. Then to the left of it is gonna be where you're going next. So go down and into that stitch. Hold your hook parallel to your yarn, go down and back, yarn over, pull through that chain that you just made, so just the first loop. You'll have 2 loops on your hook, and then you're going to hold your hook parallel to your yarn again, go forward, down and back, and then pull through both loops on your hook. On the top here, you can see 3 V's. Those are the 3 stitches that we just made. So continue all the way down your chain, and when you have an entire row, I will meet you back with how to start the next row and how to go into actual stitches. Alright, so here's what it should look like once you have made a few single crochets along the chains. I do have one more stitch left, so I wanted to show you what that looks like. So this is what it should look like when you have one stitch left. You can kind of just pull this tail end a little bit to see that last stitch. It is common for people to miss this last stitch, so something that I recommend you do is go into, once you've finished this last stitch, is to count. Make sure that you have the right number that you should have. So on the top here, you can see each of the V's, which make 1 stitch. This first and this last V might be difficult to count, so just try to find that first stitch by pulling them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I have 11 stitches. So after every row, I should make sure that I have 11 stitches. Otherwise I missed one, or I put 2 in 1 stitch or something like that. So count your stitches, and it should be 1 less than the number of chains that you had, because remember we used one of the chains as the side part. So now let's start the next row, and we're gonna make a little square. This is gonna help us practice finding stitches, counting stitches, making stitches, and yarn tension. So let's just keep making a few rows. So to start the next row, remember how when we started we used one of the chains as the side? Well, that's why at the end of the row we have to make a chain. So remember, to make a chain, we keep our hook parallel to the yarn, then we go forward, down and back, and just pull through. So this chain here is going to be the side of our next row. And obviously, working right to left, we have nothing to work on. That's why we have to flip our work to the left. So just like this. Just flip it over, and now we have things to work in. Obviously the back looks a little bit different than the front did, but we can also turn it upwards like this so we can see the V's and we can see the stitches where we need to go into. Get your hand situated, and let's find that first stitch. I like to just pull apart things and find the circles. So let's just look at the stitches down our row so we can see what's kind of happening from the back end view. All these little holes where I'm pulling apart are the stitches. So this is the first stitch for me. Here's the first chain, here's the first stitch above it. If I go into that hole and then I look what's on my hook, I'll see a V shape on my hook. So it'll be like kind of 2 strands. Some people might only go into the first strand by accident and miss going underneath the second strand. So you need to make sure that you have your initial loop on your hook as well as the stitch. So as we continue down the line, we'll be going underneath this V, then this V, then this V. But from this front side, it just looks like there's holes. So again, where did I go into? This first hole right by my hook. And here's my V. So now we continue like usual. Yarn over and pull through. You should have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through both of the loops. And there's your single crochet. Now to find the next one, remember the biggest hole is the one that you just went into. And the next hole, you can kind of pull it apart next to you, but it's going to be the next V right here that we're going underneath. So only underneath 2 loops, not underneath 3, just those 2. So it should look like this. There's my V. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both loops. Alright, so here is, you can kind of see where the stitch is, and it's in this hole, so we're just going to go into the next hole, right here. Make sure you get both loops of the V. I'll show you right now what it'll look like if you only go underneath one of the loops, just so that you can see. It'll look like this. It'll look like you just have 2 loops on your hook, and then the 3rd loop would be right here that you forgot. So we would go back under and collect that on our hook. So it would look like this. And from the other side, it should look something like that. Alright, so let's continue this all the way down, making single crochets as we go. Find the next hole. Find the next hole. And I'll meet you when we have one more single crochet. So this is what it looks like when I have one more single crochet. I can tell because if I turn my work straight up, I can see this V right here. There's no stitch inside of it. And if I count my stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 V's here and not 11. So for my 11th stitch, it's kind of difficult to go into the last one. There's not really an easy hole to find. So I always flip my work like this so I can see the V, and I just go underneath both strands of the V from the other perspective. And here I go. So here's what it should look like after 2 rows. Don't worry if your stitches aren't as consistent looking, or if there's gapes or holes, if some stitches are looser or tighter. That is normal, especially when you're just starting crocheting. In fact, I'd be shocked if there weren't. So just keep making more rows, and each row should look better than the previous one, at least a little bit. So let's go ahead and make another row for practice. Let's go ahead and chain 1, remember, for the height / side of the row, and flip our work to the left so we have something to work into. So now, if it is helpful for you, make sure to count the V's you have on the top. I have 11 here, so we are all good. And I'll go ahead and show you what to do if you make a mistake, and if you need help, say you actually have 12 or 13 or a number more and you need to undo things. So let's just go ahead and say I'm making stitches here and I, only go into one of them. I just pull this up, take my hook out, and then I'm looking at my stitch and this loop, and it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and it pops out. Then I have this new loop. The new loop is the one that's on the top. This loop is from the stitch, so I can just pull that out. So I just undid that last loop, and you can also just keep pulling and undo more and more stitches, and just stop at the stitch that you want to put your hook back into and continue working. So I will let you guys practice making single crochets. If you're having trouble finding your stitch, that's normal. You can fast back the video to how I was finding mine by pulling apart the stitches a little bit and finding the hole. And let's just continue down and continue for a few more rows until you get a square. So at the end of every row, remember to chain 1 and turn your work. That's what's going to allow you to make the next row. That's very important. After this video, I would recommend you move on to the half double crochet video and just practice the different stitches. After that, the double crochet. And let me know what other videos you guys would like to see for crochet advice, crochet tips. And I'll meet you back to show you my square. So this is what my single crochet square looks like after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 rows. So the last thing that I wanted to show you is how to fasten off. If you want to just unravel this and continue working, feel free, but I'll show you how to fasten off. All you do is make a chain, pull this up like about the length of, a finger, and then just cut. Now what you do is you just pull the yarn that's attached to your yarn ball and then pull this nice and tight. And now it's fastened off and this will not become unraveled. So I made the Harry Styles cardigan as a beginner with just making rectangles and sewing them together. And then after I made that many rectangles, I was ready to learn how to do ribbing and some other stuff, which is not very different from doing squares. So I believe in you guys. If you want to head into some projects after this, or if you want to practice some other types of stitches, just feel free to go to my playlist and just get some more practice under your belt. Thank you for watching. I hope this tutorial helped you, and comment down below what videos you would like to see next.